Hello and welcome to ETBFSI, and you're watching FinTech Diary. With me, I have today Naveen Kukreja from Paisa Bazaar. Welcome on the show, Naveen.
Thanks, Ishan. Thanks for having me.
So, the lending industry, not only the lending industry, but across all industries are going through a major disruption due to COVID-19. But
Yeah.
since you particularly cater to the lending industry, you help banks, lenders, non-bank lenders, source a part of their business. So, just want to understand what are the trends that you have seen in the March and April month. What are the talks that you are having with the lending partners in the space of, let's say, all sort of loans which you cater to?
Yeah. Thank you, Ishan. Everybody has seen, we're going through unprecedented times, and this is for the first time across the industry and across the world that
Yes.
it's happening at the same time. So everybody, irrespective of the country, irrespective of the industry, can empathize with each other on what's happening. Um, and it's been a tough environment for all of the industries. Lending, especially unsecured lending as an industry, uh, while it's not been used to what's happening now, but it is used to credit turns, it is used to recessions, it is used to higher delinquencies. Every between 6 to 8 years, a credit turn happens, where the delinquencies rise, the recession comes in, and then the lenders course correct. Usually, most of the strong lenders are able to draw from the learnings that they had from the last such crisis and apply that, and uh, be prepare themselves or act in a far better manner than they did the last time. So from that perspective, lending is slightly familiar, I would say, versus other industries on what's happening. Although, of course, lockdown, etc., has never been happened. Um, at the same time, I would say that lending in India, especially unsecured lending and actually even secured lending, for most of the part, has been fairly unprepared on what's happening right now, which is essentially that nobody can meet each other physically. So lending in India was always kind of set up in a manner that one had to meet, or the lender representative had to meet the consumer, whether it was for KYC, whether it was for income validation, whether it was for signature on application form. And the regulation was also created like that. Uh, and till about 5 or 6 years ago, there was no infrastructure also to be able to enable knowing about a customer's identity.
Yes.
But then Aadhaar happened 5 years ago. Um, I think the not so good part about the lending is that lending industry did not use the infrastructure that got created. And it's not only an industry issue. Actually, it was more regulation slash Supreme Court verdict driven,
Hmm.
where digital presence-less KYC was not allowed for lending
Hmm.
for last few years. So what that meant was that when lockdown happened on 23rd March or 24th March, the industry was fairly unprepared on how to accept consumers
Hmm.
and give them a credit product, even if they wanted to.
Hmm.
Since then, of course, in the last 40 days, there are 3 or 4 key events that have happened, which is essentially the lockdown being the first one, which disallowed people to meet each other from
Yes.
KYC perspective. And then the moratorium got announced on 30th March, I think, or
Hmm.
31st March.
Yes.
What that meant was that for 3 months or three EMIs, customers were free to choose not to pay depending on their financial difficulty. While that's overall good from a consumer perspective, and especially people who are going through cash flow issue perspective, but from a lender or a bank
Hmm.
perspective, what that means is that it becomes very difficult for them to ascertain how many customers will be at risk from a default perspective, and they kind of have to wait for 2 more months or May end, and June onwards is the only time that they are able to kind of get some sense on what kind of delinquencies are coming in, and then they can fine tune their credit strategies and segmentation strategies. And the
Yes.
third thing that's happening is that because the crisis, while it's looks to be under control, but it's not going away. So there's still a lot of uncertainty
Hmm.
around how long will this last, how long will it be difficult for business people to open their businesses, for people, salaried people to go back, and that the added complexity of how many businesses will survive, how many people will be able to survive their jobs, and hence what that means for a lender is that they take a very conservative approach and play a wait and watch game, and see how the environment pans out, how do consumers pan out, and then go back into giving new loans
Hmm.
or new credit cards. So that's what's happened in the last 45 days. We, as a largest financial aggregator or marketplace for lending products, we work with about 100 plus players, ranging from the largest bank to the newest fintech. So over the last 40 days, I've spoken to almost everybody
Hmm.
and tried to assess on how different people are thinking. And what are they thinking in terms of their how they're going to tackle.
Hmm.
So two or three key themes are emerging. On the positive side, I think the biggest theme that's emerging is that there is a big internal realization that lending was not as prepared as it could have been on digitization. So there is a lot of work that's happening almost across the industry. There is a lot of representation with the regulator to allow digital presence-less eKYC based KYC and e-agreements, etc. So a lot of work happening on digitization. I can cover that later also. Uh, but in the very short term, most of the lenders are trying to protect their own portfolio by focusing a lot more on collections. So anecdotally, I know of a very large NBFC who's
Hmm.
just put their entire sales force into collections, which sounds like a very logical thing to do in the short term. That protect your portfolio, minimize the losses, and then you are much more healthier to be able to get back into the market. Uh, I think the third thing which is impacting smaller players, not the banks at all, because banks are actually flush with liquidity because of the
Yes.
actions. However, what's happening to smaller or even medium size NBFCs is that they also have liquidity concern on top
Hmm.
of that.
Hmm.
They are very concerned, and rightly so, on whether they'll be able to renew their lines, whether they'll be
Hmm.
able to continue with the lines that they had from either the banks or even mutual funds for the debt capital, and that brings in more conservatism. Um, so that those would be, I think, the key trends that are starting to emerge. It's still very early. I think May is a very important month
Hmm.
on how things shape up, how the economy starts to open. What does the government decide on May 4th, or maybe 1 or 2 weeks later? And I think then also there'll be more clarity on what's happening around job losses. Moratorium will be one big point when it ends on May 30th, and assuming it's not extended for now,
Hmm.
then June 1 is when the lenders start to see a real picture on which people are unable to pay back their dues or EMIs,
Hmm.
and they start to see risk, and they will use a lot of that data to fine tune their strategy before coming back into the market to give new loans.
Okay. So given all this, backdrop of the lockdown impacting the businesses, the moratorium, etc., uh, how is your relationship with lenders and non-bank lenders right now at the moment? What are the conversations that you're having, to be ready for the future, and uh, what are the things that, in your perspective, are going to happen from your partnership specifics?
Okay, great. So I think when the lockdown started, the way I look at our strategy and our
Hmm.
actions are from two aspects. One is internal. Internally, I would say that we were almost over prepared when the lockdown happened.
Hmm.
We have a large customer support center. So these are people speaking to consumers on phone and
Hmm.
helping them choose, select, apply for the right product that they had come for, whether it was personal loan, business loan, home loan, credit cards. So in total, we have about 2,000 people in the call center.
Hmm.
And we were able to seamlessly move everybody to work from home.
Hmm.
And I was surprised myself at the efficiency, because in the initial days we saw the efficiency to be higher than in office.
Hmm.
And some of that has started to become clear, that there is less travel time, there is more kind of dedicated time, and our systems and processes just work beautifully.
Hmm.
uh, so all of our customer support has been seamlessly kind of working for the last 40 days. And what we've done is that in one of the areas where the lenders are also focusing more, we had a small vertical which was collections. So people who
Hmm.
had credit score from us, and if we knew that they were delinquent or had were 180 plus, which is in bank terms written off customer, we were speaking to those customers about paying back their dues to improve their credit score all the time. But we
Hmm.
saw this as an opportunity and have scaled up that. And the banks have been and the lenders have been pleasantly surprised on how well prepared our call center was, because some of the traditional collection agencies
Hmm.
uh, were just became less effective during this time, and we were as effective. So we've scaled up on that
Hmm.
aspect. But I think an even bigger piece, which has come as an opportunity not only for us, but I think for the entire industry, is digitization.
Yes.
Um, if you so what we've done is, and a lot of my conversations with the lenders right now are on how can we help the bank or the NBFC
Hmm.
uh, get onto the path of digitization faster. So what we've done in the last 40 odd days is build the digitization capability.
Hmm.
We worked on developing, whether it's video KYC, which got approved by RBI a few months ago, but was not actually put into practice on a large scale till
Yes.
now, has started to happen now. We are starting to see some implementation at the ground level. So we have kind of done that capability or build that capability. We've also built capability to validate Aadhaar, which is again a accepted way to do KYC through
Hmm.
offline Aadhaar or through DigiLocker.
Yes.
Uh, we've also worked on building the entire e-mandate, e-signature, e-income validation,
Hmm.
uh, what we're calling as our PB's digital stack
Hmm.
for onboarding a customer for lending, which is as per the uh, regulatory requirements.
Hmm.
And what we're doing is, while we've implemented at our end, we're now having actually at least four active conversations where we're trying to help the lenders use those services in a data secure environment to uh, be ready for accepting customers digitally and issuing loans or credit cards.
Hmm.
Uh, and after the initial 15, 20 days, when the banks were grappling with multiple issues, including moratorium, etc., the banks and the lenders have shifted the focus to get more digital. So I think a lot of conversations are happening around digitization, which are very positive. A lot of conversations which are happening around how can we help them improve their collections, which is, I think, a short to medium term focus area for the lenders.
Hmm.
So we are glad we are able to help them. And of course, a lot of conversations are happening now around how do we identify, of all the customers who are coming, how do we identify the lower risk segments, and for want of better word, let me call it a more stable
Hmm.
kind of segment, where the risk of the situation or the impact of the situation would be lesser
Yes.
to some certain segments. So some of the obvious things are that salaried is likely to be less
Hmm.
impacted than businessmen. And so how do we identify lower risk segments and at least start opening up
Yes.
lending for those sub-segments? I call them salaried super prime
Hmm.
consumers. And we're hoping that we will have about 5 partners live by the end of May.
Hmm.
Uh, Not at the same level, obviously,
Yes.
as it was pre-crisis, but at some sub-segment levels. And we work with other players to get them back from June onwards.
Okay. So in short term, would it be right to say that you're sort of partially pivoting towards collection as a business?
I won't say we're pivoting. It was always a vertical for us. It was a small vertical because of the current environment and the focus of the banks. We
Hmm.
are seeing that that's just growing very, very fast. And so we are uh, putting more resources and capacity there.
Hmm.
So, for example, without sharing too many numbers, I expect we whatever we did in February in collections, we
Hmm.
are trying to do 3x of that by July.
Okay.
Uh, because just because of the environment and the fact that lenders are focused on that. So that I think is a great thing. It was always part of our strategy to grow
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
even in the normal times. It just got accelerated a lot faster, and we have the ability to put more resources uh, in this time. But
Okay.
yeah, I think the core continues to be what our core proposition is, that we try and help the consumers get the best financial product,
Hmm.
mostly lending, but we also have direct mutual funds. So across lending and investment. And because of our nature of being a marketplace, we try and bring maximum options to them at all points in time. It just so happens that right now those options are very, very severely restricted, and we
Yes.
expect them to start coming back from June onwards.
Okay. So at the same time, it's a no-brainer that organizations, be it large organization or fintechs or unicorns, everyone is looking at to reduce their fixed cost, and there is definitely an impact on the HR as well. So just
Mm.
wanted to understand how have you sort of charted out a plan over here?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think, like you said, some of the calls have been fairly obvious. So we have cut down our marketing
Hmm.
expenditure. We have cut down some of the non-people fixed cost,
Hmm.
or rather optimize some of the non-people fixed cost. And we are kind of continuously kind of monitoring that and trying to look for optimization. On the people front, to be honest, we are watching the situation closely. We haven't taken any decision. Or what we have uh, told our employees is that we have protected everybody's salary till June 30th.
Hmm.
So that call we have taken. But to be honest, it does depend on how the environment shapes up
Hmm.
in second half of May and June onwards, and
Yes.
depending on the recovery we see there.
So sort of consolidation is expected in the fintech space. You're working with the largest bank, the largest lender. At the same time, you have small lenders as well, small fintech lenders. So overall, how do you see the fintech industry evolving right now? Not only from a lending perspective, but which are the areas that you think there will be maximum play in the fintech ecosystem, and what strategies could fintech think of in these uncertain times?
Sure, sure. I'll just take a minute before I get onto the fintechs on how the large lenders or banks kind of behave. And like
Hmm.
I said, most of the large banks have seen the 2008 crisis.
Hmm.
Most of the large private banks have seen it. Some of the large NBFCs may not have yet seen it. So I don't remember, but I think Bajaj Finserv may not have seen 2008 in its entirety. So
Hmm.
it might be a first experience for them, but they're a great organization. I have
Yes.
a lot of respect for them. So they will draw on from the learnings that the other banks may have seen. So what I expect from the large banks and NBFCs is that most of them will kind of at least look at 2008 and draw the learnings from there. Of course, there'll be some things which will be completely new. For example, currently we don't know how the health situation will continue, right? Whether
Yes.
it'll become worse, whether it'll improve from here on, and how long will it last. And some of the permanent or semi-permanent changes in consumer behaviors is something that everybody will experience for the first time.
Yes.
I do expect the large banks and lenders who do not, in my mind, have liquidity issue, but they do want to run a great business and want to acquire with more confidence. For them to be conservative in the next couple of months and then start to come back as they see more delinquency data and try and build back the book. And hopefully, the retail, especially the salary delinquency parts, while they will increase, there's no doubt about that, but they
Hmm.
will be at a manageable level, so they will still allow uh, less riskier or super prime, as I call them,
Hmm.
segments to continue and come back very fast. That would be one. I think even for the large lenders, the SME segment will be a challenge, both from the perspective of short-term delinquency increase. There is currently varying estimates on how much will it increase, but it could be concerning. And more importantly, their ability to get back to the business and get back to the revenue. So think of everybody who is in travel and entertainment space,
Yes.
everybody who's in a restaurant business. Those are the obvious ones, and then there are more, right?
Hmm.
Apparel, for example, on how, firstly, how, when do they start open up, and secondly, even if they open up, how does the business or the revenue come back?
Yes.
Because some of the permanent changes might be or the semi-permanent from a consumer behavior perspective, to save more and focus more on essentials and be very conservative for a reasonably foreseeable future on non-essentials.
Hmm.
And hence those non-essentials or other luxury or completely discretionary pieces might see a longer dip and much longer time to recover. So that part will be very tricky for larger banks and NBFCs. Coming to the fintechs, one of the clean, why did the fintech opportunity kind of emerge and was so interesting in India? Is that the banks and the large NBFCs, because of what they had seen in 2008 also, were very focused on salaried and self-employed prime segments. So
Yes.
prime consumers are basically, who have a certain income and above and have a good track record in terms of credit history. Uh, and that was the main bread and butter business. And there were some experiments that were going on, but those were small compared to the demand, very, very small compared to the demand. And versus if you look at any developed market, whether it's US, whether it's UK, whether it's Europe, uh, below prime, subprime, new to credit, uh, have a far more developed ecosystem, both in terms of the lenders who are available to lend to them, and far more maturity in terms of a lot of data on how do those consumers behave, and hence the pricing and risk ratios are kind of more stable.
Yes.
uh, that ecosystem was getting developed pre 2008, but almost got wiped out after 2008 crisis. So it was never developed. So that was a large white space, which is why we saw fintechs in SME and salaried both trying to occupy and get a share of the pie in
Yes.
the new to credit and below prime. In the last 3-4 years, I thought actually it was, at least in the last 12 months, it was becoming a little aggressive, and nobody had actually tested while everybody was clear on the white space opportunity, and there was a lot of funding available in fintech in India.
Yes.
Um what was happening was a lot of people who were not from lending, who had not seen 2008. So if you haven't seen it, you can't imagine what can happen.
Hmm.
They were getting into the business, and everybody was creating very nice, great Excel plans basis certain hypotheses,
Yes.
and with certain loss rates, certain pricing, certain margins, and things were fairly hunky dory. I think if things are in control, my view is that actually it will be a great validation
Hmm.
of separating the men from the boys on people who were focused on the right risk versus people who were generally getting in because there was a lot of funding available, and not adequately taking the consumer risk or credit risk, or running these stretch scenarios. I think a lot of those people will struggle. So what will happen is the industry, the fintech piece, at least from a lending perspective, would get a little bit cleaned up.
Hmm.
For the good players, it might be actually a good situation, because some of the mad competition around acquisition of the same consumers and increasing marketing costs, etc., will or is expected to slow down
Yes.
after this, because hopefully the better lenders will remain. The people who were rash or not as or considerate on credit risk will struggle, and they
Hmm.
will see risks which are much higher than what was built in their model. Of course, the fear is that it expands beyond that and translates into a liquidity risk. So even good lenders, people who've
Hmm.
been very sensitive, sensible in lending practices, and are actually seeing a higher but controlled risk elevation, even they struggle to raise more capital. I think that will be a little sad if that were to happen. But I do expect, uh, the fintech part of the lending, or small ticket personal loans, as
Hmm.
it was also getting known, part of the segment to moderate quite a lot and take a lot of time to come back. I do expect not everybody will be there on the other side, but I do hope that some of the sensible lenders are able to get the required liquidity to be able to continue to build that
Hmm.
segment, because it continues to be very wide space. The demand just far outweighs the supply, and that's unfortunate. That reflects in our, the ratios of lending per capita income, lending versus GDP, any ratios you look at, that those are fairly low. Um,
Yes.
on besides lending, I do see that some of the players who are focused on digitalizing the process for were more
Hmm.
B2B player, and were focused on digitalizing the process, either the process for the larger players, or working on data analytics or use of alternate data. uh, I do see some of them can do well, because those pieces will become far more important, and hopefully the industry moves toward that. And uh, the Not all the companies will be able to build the digital capabilities in house, and that's
Yes.
also not the right way to build it. So a lot of companies will lean on to newer fintechs or existing fintechs to help them on that path. So data analytics, uh, digitalization. Anybody who's in that player space and is focused on building the right product and processes with the right controls should do well.
All right, Naveen. Those were some really great insights on how lenders and how you are strategizing yourself for the upcoming times. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, Naveen.